Welcome, everybody, to episode 250 of WordPress Weekly for Wednesday, October 5th, 2016. I'm your host, Jeff Chandler, joined by Marcus Couch. And yes, you heard me right. It is episode 250, away from the big 300. And it feels like yesterday we were doing that big 200 show. So we're just moving right along here, Marcus. Another week, another podcast.
It feels like yesterday, yet it was a year ago.
Yeah, funny how that works. So we got a great show lined up for you tonight on our 250th episode with our guest, Matt Cromwell. We'll be speaking to him here in a little bit. But before we do, Marcus, I noticed that we have some international reviews for the show. It'd be cool to kind of highlight those.
International is right, man. We're going to talk reviews here from 4 different continents. 4.
Oh, smokes.
And it's not North America either. All right, so here we go. The first one is from the UK. And by the way, I'm going to, before I get into the reviews, let me just tell you here. I did some searching globally. In the US, we're ranked number 4. We haven't had a review in 2 weeks. Canada, number 5. Haven't had a review since November 2014. 2 years. Come on, Canada. The UK, we had one back in June. That's all right. We're number 3. Ireland, number 1. No reviews, even though we're number 1. Germany, we're number 4. I want to tell you, I heard these international podcasts about WordPress, and it sounds like me and you, except they're just speaking in a different language. Like in Germany, they have this show called WP Sofa, which, you know, I've got an affinity for since my name is Marcus Couch. It is WP Sofa, ein WordPress podcast, which I listen to, which is funny because I don't understand a lick of German, yet I could understand when they said customizer and theme. So I listened to about 10 minutes of their podcast. It was pretty cool. Australia, number 5. South Africa, number 3. We've got 1 review there. India, we're number 5. Israel, number 6, no reviews. France, number 9, no reviews. But they have 2 French podcasts. One is called the Very French Trip WP podcast, and the other one is called, excuse my French,
Passons à table.
A table, which means sit down and eat, which I thought was pretty cool.
You don't have to tell me to do that twice.
New Zealand, number 12. We're number 12 in New Zealand, and I know 2 people in New Zealand that listen. So what the hell? Review us. We're getting beat by podcasts that haven't even had an episode in 3 years. It's like when you have an election and you lose to a dead guy. That's what it feels like.
You know, with the U.S. election system, that's totally possible.
That is possible, and it's happened. Japan, and we know we have listeners in Japan. Number 3, no reviews, and the David Hasselhoff of Japan is Matt Medeiros. He's got the number 1 WordPress podcast in Japan.
Well, congratulations.
Yeah, Kong Bai. Good job. So let's dig into some of the international reviews that we got here.
Let's start off with that one from the UK.
If I could only scroll up there and my Chrome didn't crash.
So
okay, here we go. I got it.
All right.
Okay. Aspiring WordPress developer. This is from Mr. Paul Al or Paul AI. I can't tell. I've always listened to music whilst working. In recent months, I've swapped music for podcasts, specifically WordPress podcasts. I have to say, guys, WordPress Weekly is the one I find myself looking forward to most. I absolutely love listening, and I found I'm less distracted than I was whilst listening to music. I'm UK-based, so unfortunately I have to wait until late Wednesday for it to come out, and usually listen every Thursday. I do have one criticism, though. Why do you only do 1 per week? Well, that's why it's WordPress Weekly and not daily. I need 40 to 60 hours worth per week. It's just not good enough. Great work, chaps. Keep it coming. That you would like to maybe tweet Photo Matt and tell him to hire Marcus and Jeff to do this full-time on a WordPress stream. We would love to do it.
Oh, my. 5 days a week, huh? You think we could do it?
Yeah.
Yeah, we could probably do it. Keep it at a half hour, 20 minutes, half hour if that. Just talk about headlines during the day.
Yeah. Take some calls. Yeah.
Now, one thing Mr. Paul says that I was thinking about is he says that he says that I found I'm less distracted than I was while listening to music. And I know that when I used to work the night shift at the grocery store, I listened to it. I just churned through the podcast because it was sort of a robot mind-numbing job I was doing, stocking shelves. There wasn't a lot to it, but I was able to really concentrate on what the people were saying and take in things. But if I'm like trying to write a post or I'm trying to actually do some work while listening to a podcast, I can't do it. The words, I can't listen to it. I can't concentrate. Nothing sinks in. I found the opposite to be true when I'm listening to music, which is something I don't really have to use any of my brain power to listen to. It's just sort of dark noise. So it's kind of the opposite for me.
Well, that's writing though. But see, the title of this was Aspiring WordPress Developer. So he's doing some development. And that's what I do also. I listen to every WordPress podcast. That's why I was so enthralled with the different language ones that I didn't understand, because I want to understand what they're talking about, right? They're probably talking about the same stuff we do, but I just want to know. And so that was great. That was a nice review. I appreciate that. That was a 5-star review.
And our next one is from Bagu, who also says, great show, 5 stars. And he says, nice show. Good knowing what others are using on WordPress. Listening from South Africa. So there we go. There's another continent.
That's right. In India, Elroy Fernandez, not a very common Indian name. His title is Must Listen for WordPress Developers, 5 stars. Oh, I love this one. What I love about this show is the plugin reviews.
Well, go figure. If you really love the plugin reviews, what's that other show you do, Marcus? It's all about plugins?
Yeah, it's WordPress plugins A to Z.
Wow, what a plug. Did you hire this guy to review?
I did not.
Get a plug.
No, that was back in April. So I haven't been to the India version of iTunes to see that review since, obviously, April. And
our fourth and final review as we travel the continent is by GiveWP, and it's a 5-star one by, he says, good one. He says, keep up the great work, guys. Thank you for updating us on WordPress happenings. Your pal, Jez. So that was from down under in the land of Australia.
All right. So we got Europe, Africa, Asia, and, well, Australia. So there's your 4 continents.
Australia. You know that one down there that sometimes people forget about? It's very disrespectful. Anyways, great recap of the podcast. And again, if you could spare a couple of moments, please go to iTunes, look us up, WordPress Weekly, and give us a review. Tell us what you like, dislike about the show. Give us a star rating. And we want to just keep reading more of these on the show every week. It'd be cool if we had a new one every week. At least one. That'd be nice.
Yeah, and I noticed that the tavern is getting put back in the Planet news feed. So,
oh yeah, I noticed that as well. And also, I did notice this. I don't know if he listens to the show, but is it something to do with Google? I have to add the tavern or WordPress Weekly to Google Audio or some type of directory. Google Play.
Yeah, Google
okay.
Play.
So we had a request for that, and I'm going to work on that. Try and get that done before the end of this week.
Good.
So we're going to work on that. Okay. Now that we covered some of the housework, let's dive into this interview because we have a patiently waiting Matt Cromwell on the line. And he is the head of support and community outreach at WordPress, which is the company responsible for building the Give Donation plugin. You can find that at GiveWP.com. Matt, man, thanks a lot for taking some time out of your schedule to be on the show. And as I understand it, you too are on the West Coast.
Yeah, San Diego.
Yeah, Matt and I actually had dinner across from each other, across the table.
Absolutely. Excellent.
At WordCamp Los Angeles, right afterward.
It was.
And who paid?
Mendel.
Mendel.
Oh, it's nice. You know, dinner's always great when Mendel's buying. You
That's
ever
right.
notice that?
It's really great.
So great to have you on the show, Matt. I've been following your work for a while, and it's kind of cool to have you on, and we're going to talk about a lot of great stuff. But before we do, it's sort of customary to start off at the beginning. So how did you get involved with WordPress? How did you discover it?
Yeah, I grew up in like a evangelical Christian background, and I did a lot of schooling in Christian environments and volunteered at a lot of different churches. And I was the young guy who they were like, hey, it's the 21st century, we need a website. There's the young guy, can't you build us a website? And I was like, not today, but I can figure it out. And so I just jumped in headfirst at several different opportunities, and this basically just grabbed like Notepad and started doing HTML and CSS, and I hit some walls in terms of what I could do and started researching and wanted to build something really nice looking, and ran into a thing called Kubrick, which was one of the first really popular WordPress themes.
One with the big blue header and rounded corners.
Oh, the rounded corners.
Never forget the rounded corners.
They were where it's at. I was like, how do they do those rounded corners, man? So I was all about it, and I was like, oh, but if I'm going to do that, I got to have this WordPress thing, and I don't know what that's all about. So I jumped in headfirst on that, and didn't make a whole lot of progress, at least nothing that I could feel like I could push live. And so just kept chipping away at my HTML, CSS stuff, and until somebody was like, hey, I build WordPress sites. Can you build WordPress sites? I was like, not today, but I can give it a try. And so just jumped in. That was my friend Adam McLean. He's here in San Diego. He does a lot of great stuff for youth ministries and whatnot. And he really is the guy who basically pushed me headfirst into WordPress. And as soon as I took my first job with him, basically, like just like on the side of what I was doing at the time, he made me join this Facebook group called Advanced WordPress that I had never heard of before. And suddenly I was building my first WordPress site and thrown into this Facebook group that I'd never heard of, and having to make my way through it all, and basically got thrown into the deep end, basically.
So as you're in the deep end and you discover WordPress and you're using it to build sites, at some point, you make this decision that you probably go all in on WordPress, learning it, or was there a tipping point that you discover that WordPress is where it's at and you can make a living doing this?
Well, I mean, at that time, I was actually pursuing a career in higher education. I was working on a second master's degree, honestly. Sometimes I'm proud, sometimes I'm ashamed. It depends which day you ask me. But I was doing web development as like a side job to fund my education. So it wasn't like I felt like I was going to really do this full time. But as it became more and more clear that I wasn't going to, I don't know how many folks are listening, understand the higher education field in terms of like what it takes to do that for a living. But at one point I was like, I got 3 kids and a lot of educational debt, and this is not going to be a career for me. But I had this side gig going that was doing well. So I was like, well, this isn't going to be what I'm going to do, because I'm not going to get divorced and lose my kids over being a history teacher. That's just not going to happen. But this other thing is working out pretty well, even though I'm only putting in like 30-40% time into it. So let's see how that fleshes out. So once I basically pulled the scab off of the idea of being a teacher for life, I jumped in head first.
Now, I know that today there's churches, there's themes and companies out there specifically geared just towards the church vertical, and I don't know if you're still involved in that area or not, but if you are, is there still a lot of business that can be made through churches, websites, and built on WordPress?
Yeah, there basically a lot of people think of like faith-based organizations just as like congregations and whatnot, but there's so many like nonprofits that are faith-based organizations as well. That field is really, really large. Like the last project I did with Adam before I'm kind of jumping ahead a little bit, but before I jumped on with WordPress full time was a site called Culture and Youth Studies, which is basically a project of Gordon Conwell University out in Boston. And it basically is, it wasn't a church, it was a Christian university that had a department focused on youth studies, and they needed, like, basically they called it the Wikipedia of youth studies. That's what they needed. And Adam was convinced that we could do it with WordPress. I wasn't necessarily, but we pulled it off anyway. And I mean, that's just to express the breadth of the market within religious organizations. It's really not just about churches. It's about all kinds of nonprofit organizations that are faith-based. And that's kind of where my niche was before doing full-time with WordPress.
All right, so you keep mentioning WordPress. What is this company and what do you do?
Yeah, WordPress actually started as Devin Walker's kind of side job. He was a great freelancer, doing a lot of freelance websites, and he, as he was solving problems for his clients, he built out a couple custom plugins that he felt were marketable in terms of publishing live for other people to use. And so he set up this WordPress brand just as a freelancer on the side to get more exposure in terms of the work he was doing. And at one point, he really wanted to level up and really just focus on plugin development and not do as much client work. So he partnered up with our partner, Jason Cannell, who's really great with finance and marketing and business strategy. And together they really launched WordPress really strong. And their first move was to hire someone who could help them with their brand recognition and community outreach and support. And that was me. That was in 2014. So
now look at you now on episode 250 of WordPress Weekly. I'd say you deserve a raise.
I'll tell them that.
That all happened really fast.
Which part?
I just your progression into the whole thing, just from even starting WordPress to now. I mean, that's quite a bit in a short amount of time.
I do what I can. I don't know what to say. Thank you.
Yeah.
So when it comes to thinking about product ideas for WordPress, why did you and the team decide on a donation plugin?
Devin had done a bit of work with nonprofits as well, as had I. And basically at the time when when I came on board in 2014, it was our only products were, our biggest product was at that time was Quick Checkout, which is a WooCommerce extension. And the other ones were business reviews plugins like Google Business Reviews, Yelp, and Yellow Pages, honestly. And that was, overall a pretty meager plugin offering. And so we felt like, we need to do something in order for us to really fund a company and not just like struggle along with basically just the meager sales we were getting at that time. We really needed to do something that was significant and really break some new ground. And Devin and I both knew that in the nonprofit space, donations were a major pain point. The only real options were to
painful PayPal.
Yeah, I mean, it's like a PayPal button or WooCommerce that is like you have to do tons of like custom work to make it act and look like donations instead of products, and ditch the cart and the checkout somehow, or EDD with its like they have a donation extension, but it's still a cart and checkout process. And nonprofits look at that and just are like, "Are you kidding me? Really?"
Yeah, wow. So instead of just a donation thing, a very simple plugin that concentrates on one thing. We were at a stage where you had to install an entire e-commerce solution and then bolt on the simple donation stuff on the side. That seems crazy.
Yeah, in retrospect, it really is. I mean, another option at that time was, and still today, is Gravity Forms as well. And Gravity Forms does a really good job overall. But what we felt like still was missing was just really being able to be like really nonprofit donation specific, not just like a general e-commerce and not a general form builder, something that's really targeted specifically at nonprofits, for donations, and nothing else.
So we're going to get into a little bit about the product GiveWP, but first, in doing my research, I came across this mission statement that I love. I love a mission statement from a company that's short, simple, and powerful, and something I can kind of stand behind. And you have this mission statement, or GiveWP has a mission statement that says to democratize generosity. I think that's really cool. So how did you folks come up with that?
Well, the first thing was that we really wanted to embrace the real mission statement of WordPress. We wanted something that we're really proud of is doing things the WordPress way. We're really proud of owning the open source mantra, the open source philosophy. We're not a third-party solution. We're not a third-party platform or a SaaS right now, and we're really proud of that. And what we felt like was missing with donations was basically if any serious organization wanted to do donations, they had to go to a third-party solution, basically sharing all of their data and all of their donations with another service that would see everything that they have, basically. And we wanted organizations to be able to own their own data, own their own donation stuff, just the way that WordPress allows you to own your own data and own your own information, and own your own content. So the democratizing mission of WordPress was something that we really resonated with, and we felt like was missing in the donation and nonprofit space. So we thought, like, if we could capitalize on that, basically we can express that and embody that as much as possible. That would be excellent. That'd be something that we really wanted to do. So.
Can you describe some of those other competitive platforms that some of those nonprofits are forced to go to? What are they, and what's the marketplace like in terms of the facilitation of donations as it exists?
Yeah, one of the biggest ones, honestly, is just 3 blocks down from our office. It's called classy.org, and none of these services are necessarily bad. They're good services. They do a good job. They're really robust. They're really they provide a lot of really good things. They come from a different perspective in terms of software and development. That's the difference. So Classy, for example, is really excellent. They're really powerful. They have a lot of good tools for nonprofits. They are more focused on basically building out a strong donation page and being able to leverage that information that you get in a lot of different ways. But part of what it means to be a third-party system is that they can't survive by charging like $30 a month. For example, any SaaS platform is going to have like a business model in one way or another, and if they charge $30 a month, it's not sustainable for them, because a mom and pop nonprofit, for example, will be able to pay $30 a month, and that won't be a big drain on Classy's resources, on their server load and all that kind of thing. But like if it was a Blue Cross or a Red Cross that brings in millions all the time, millions every month, suddenly a $30 a month fee really puts a big drain on the resources that Classy has to give to that organization. So just like their resources have to scale, their pricing has to scale. And that's where something like a self-hosted, own your own data kind of solution is different, because we don't have to charge differently for different clients, basically.
So are you saying that those services encapsulate everything? I mean, is it a CMS? Is it, what do they provide for that?
They do. I mean, Classy, for example, another really good example is GoFundMe, for example, or even Kickstarter. These are all third-party systems, basically. They do provide a lot of different things in different ways. Classy does a good job in being very, very broad in terms of they want to help you to market to your donors and track your donors and all those types of things there are definitely some features that they have that we don't have right now, but that we are ramping up to be able to offer as well in a self-hosted fashion. So, like I said, I mean, I don't want to bag on any of these services because they are valuable, but there is just a difference in philosophy.
Yeah, and I address these things because obviously we've already referenced the fact that some developers can find that this is a relatively meaty marketplace in terms of clients to service. So I thought it would be helpful to give a background of what's existing out there, so that they could come up with perhaps some rebuttals or some things that using WordPress would be a better solution.
Yeah, no, for sure. I mean, the biggest rebuttal for me is owning your own data. That's the thing, because especially when it comes to donor data. I mean, you see all of the breaches all the time out there in lots of different ways that information gets hacked or made vulnerable in one way or another. And like, for example, if the way Give accepts credit card donations is through a payment gateway like Stripe, PayPal, Authorize.net, these types of things. Classy is going to do that as well. They also have a PayPal I'm not totally sure which gateway they use actually, but they also have a gateway that they're using, and so they have those fees that they have to pay to their payment gateway, and we just think rather than paying Classy and the payment gateway, you should just pay the payment gateway directly and deal with that directly. Now, of course, like if they're using PayPal, I know for a fact that PayPal does negotiate their fee depending on how much you bring in. So Classy could definitely have negotiated their fee down really low to maybe be like a 1.5 or maybe 1.9 or something like that, which is much lower than a normal person or a normal organization would have. But then you're going to pay the Classy fees on top of whatever the payment gateway fees are.
So you bring up an important point about GiveWP, and I noticed this is we keep talking about nonprofits, and nonprofits are very conscious about money. It's all about money for them, and the more money they can receive, the better. So with GiveWP, as you said, there's no additional fees outside of the payment gateway fees, correct?
For the main plugin, of course not. We have a free plugin, but we do have add-ons which enhance the plugin. So there are the fees involved in having the add-on, which we're GPL, everything's GPL. So what you pay for is having automatic updates and access to our priority support. But we actually did the math. I'm pasting a link here into our Hangout chat right here. But we actually did the math comparing if you did, like, for example, a $10,000 campaign, you're like, we need to raise $10,000, and you use a platform like GoFundMe, for example, and you compare what you would pay to GoFundMe compared to what you would pay with Give and our add-ons, you actually end up, of the $10,000, you actually end up with, if I remember right, it's around $9,200 with GoFundMe, and with Give, it's around $9,700. So, and that's a small fundraiser. A $10,000 fundraiser is pretty small. So actually, here's the numbers. Total earned with GoFundMe is $90,060. Basically, you lose almost $1,000 to GoFundMe for your $10,000 campaign.
Yeah, because these crowdfunding services always have some sort of percentage, which is their cut.
Yeah, and I mean, it makes sense because you're using their resources. They're hosting that solution, and they have to pay for that hosting. They have to pay for those resources. Like, I'm not knocking them for charging for the things that they're offering, but that's partly a big benefit of what an open source solution offers, is that we do not have to bear the brunt of hosting any of that information. We offer the code, and we offer our manpower behind it with our support and our updates, and then it's up to you from there.
So you briefly mentioned the add-ons. Let's talk a little bit about GiveWP's business model and some of the decisions or motivations that made you guys choose this direction, and having a free plugin on the .org repository, but also having this sort of marketplace surrounding it with the add-ons, which seems to be a popular business model now in the WordPress space, outside of moving from product directly to a SaaS solution.
Yeah, I mean, we chose the model because we saw the potential for I mean, there are as many different nonprofits as there are businesses in America. I mean, like there's every different nonprofit has different kinds of needs. So they would necessarily want different kinds of features for their donation platform. So the add-on model or extension model that, for example, WooCommerce and Easy Digital Downloads really emphasizes is what made the most sense to us, because we wanted people to be able to basically modularize their features. So that allows us to have a Give core plugin, which remains lean and fast and but still powerful, that can be easily extended with add-ons. And that way you don't have just a cookie cutter solution, you have a solution that is easily extensible, even with custom development, not just our add-ons. So that's basically why we chose the add-on model. Not every single nonprofit wants the same exact thing, and to be able to do different solutions for different nonprofits, it makes the most sense.
Now, GiveWP, it's a slick form. It's like a combination of a form plugin with just some really cool features. You could set things like donation amounts or recurring donation amounts, and you already mentioned sort of Gravity Forms is a good solution in this area. So what sets GiveWP apart from other plugins like Ninja Forms and Gravity Forms today?
Yeah, I think when you talk about, well, there's different ways that we distinguish ourselves. So we distinguish ourselves from a typical, I like to say donations is e-commerce also. Some people don't think about donations as e-commerce, but they really truly are, because they fund entire businesses. And they fund, multi-million-dollar nonprofits. Donations do. So donations are e-commerce.
Yeah, especially when you get a chargeback because somebody doesn't remember donating or doesn't remember the title of the thing on their statement.
Yep.
Right? That makes it e-commerce then, when there's chargebacks and fees involved.
Yep. They're like, I can't believe I donated $1,000 to something I don't even remember. Like,
right.
But it happens. That kind of thing happens. So for sure. So in one way, we distinguish ourselves from EDD and WooCommerce by being donation-centric and by being nonprofit-centric, which means that everything you do with our plugin has to do with donations and not products and carts and checkouts. And then we distinguish ourselves from form solutions based on a couple things. The biggest problem with donation landing pages is what I call field bloat. If you go to donate to somebody and you find that you have to fill out 20 fields in order to donate, you're very much more likely to bounce and not donate.
And my first thought is, I ain't got time for this.
Exactly. So there is a little bit of opinion that goes into the default Give donation form, and that's based on best practices in online donations. The other way, so because a form field, a form manager like Ninja Forms and Gravity Forms are excellent, powerful tools for building all kinds of really necessary and important forms for lots of reasons. But sometimes good-meaning nonprofits can take Gravity Forms and turn it into a donation-killing donation page, basically. So there is a way in which we are somewhat opinionated in the way that we build out our donation forms. And that's for the benefit of the nonprofit, in our opinion. But the other way that we distinguish from a basic form builder is our reporting in the back end. We report specifically on your donors and their information, their lifetime value, which forms they've donated to, and which forms are performing best. We have, also a lot of the bells and whistles in terms of MailChimp integration and PDF receipts and all those kinds of things.
These are all bundled into the free plugin?
Those are not.
Oh, okay.
The reporting is, the donor management is, CSV exports is, MailChimp and PDF receipts and whatnot are add-ons.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was about to say, holy smokes, what are you making money on?
We do have to make money, and we don't back away from that at all. So there are things. I mean, we don't back away from it because we want to be around for the nonprofit in 5 years from now. Like, if we aren't here in 5 years, then they have a dysfunctional donation page, And the only way for us to be here is if we charge appropriately.
One of the things I wanted to mention is if you go to if our listeners out there go to givewp.com and you look up at the top, there's a link that says demo. So you can check out these different sites that have been created where you can see GiveWP in action. And it looks slick on every website, like it just blends in. And that's something I know that's something you guys have worked on with the plugin, is for it to be compatible with just about all themes. So tell us a little bit about how it works. Is it simply you create a short code of your form and stick it onto a page and that's it, you're done? Or
it could be a mix of both. Out of the box, we make sure that you actually have a donation page that's publishable immediately. So the default setting is that you have a archive slug, just like you do with posts. You know that every post in WordPress, when you create a post, you have an archive in one way or another, whether it's a category archive, a tag archive, or just the general blog page that you set in your settings. Give also has an archive, which is typically /donations, and that's going to show you all the forms that you have available on one page. And when you click to those have their own single page. So out of the box, you can literally activate Give, go to add form and do Jeff's donation page and hit publish, and you'll have a donation page that is jeff.com/donations/Jeff's donation page. And you have a donation form out of the box.
Give me all your monies, people.
Exactly.
I'm just kidding.
So that we purposely wanted to make sure that you have publishable, URL oriented donation pages out of the box as soon as you hit publish. In addition to that, there's also short codes that you can add, and we have a short code builder. So you just click a button in the WordPress editor, and you'll be able to generate a form short code on the fly with a little builder. So you can embed that into any post or page or widget if your widgets support short codes, and you'll be good to go.
Any kind of a pop-up generator or anything like that that encourages further donations, that it's built in or through add-ons?
Say it again, one more time.
Do you implement any sort of a pop-up system also within the plugin that encourages donations?
Yeah, I'll tell you what. We have three different display methods with our Give form. One of them is a pop-up method. So on the single Give form page, you could have a standard form page. When you click Donate Now, it's going to pop up the checkout fields, basically the payment fields into a pop-up. But like an opt-in monster kind of like pop-up, we don't have that yet. We actually, honestly, I haven't even talked to anybody about this outside of the office, but we're talking about an add-on that would do basically, like if you had already donated and you came to the website again, we would show a pop-up that says, hey, why don't you give again? And that's an add-on idea that we're actually just started talking about this week. But
you see that, Jeff? See how in touch with this plugin I already am just by glancing at it.
Yes.
I already know what they're on track for. Well, okay. So does the new Penguin update, or I don't know if it's Panda or Penguin, whatever it is. There's some rumor that now Google is trying to slap people that have pop-ups on the page.
Yeah, those are about. I actually have a write-up on our WordPress blog about that, and I actually reached out a little bit to Syed from Opt-in Monster and Danny Van Kooten from Scroll Trigger Boxes. Actually, what's he called now? Boxify, I think is what he's called. Boxilla, that's what he's called. Boxilla. About that. Those are more about interstitial ads. They're mostly about those big like news sites that when you click to the article, like 3/4 of the article is hidden, or as soon as you click to the article, a giant pop-up comes up and says subscribe to our newsletter immediately without any user interaction whatsoever. That specific update that they're making in early 2017 is about those interstitial ads.
I see.
Not about pop-ups in general.
Well, that's good to know.
Yeah. So like a user, it's basically the pop-up that we use is a user-initiated pop-up. As soon as you say donate now, it comes up just to give your payment forms focus, so that you're like, okay, here's exactly what we need from you in order to finish this donation.
So I want to talk briefly about a story. I mean, I love the fact that you guys do these give stories where you talk about organizations or initiatives that people set up, and thanks to the Give WordPress plugin, they're able to accept donations easily. But I was reading the story today, and I remember when this happened a couple of months ago that involved Bridget Willard, who unfortunately, my condolences, her husband passed away. And I remember that somebody had set up members of the WordPress community had set up a website where they actually used a GiveWP plugin, and overnight, people from all walks of life across the world donated upwards of $1,300, which helped pay for the funeral and cremation of her husband. That's just an amazing story, and something that was, I don't know if it was made possible by GiveWP, but it certainly helped make that happen.
Yeah, Bridget is one of our employees. She's our marketing manager. And Devin and I were intimately involved in launching that campaign. We called it we call it the Willard Fund. WillardFund.org is where you find the website. And as soon, I mean, Mercier's death happened really relatively quickly. We knew that he was sick and that things weren't going well. We were definitely giving Bridget as much employee support as we could, as much space as we could, so that she could tend to him and his needs, for sure. But when he passed, it was very sudden for her and very sudden for everyone. And we knew that she had just been employed with us only a few months when that happened. And those kinds of expenses, nobody can really prepare for in advance. And we knew that Bridget had a giant network of people who just love her to death. So we collaborated with several other of her close friends and WordPress folks who love her the night that Mercier passed, and worked late until the night building out WillardFund.org. And in that story that we published, actually, I think it's published on her site. I don't know, is it published on our site?
It's on the GiveWP site. It says My Coral Reef, the WordPress community.
Oh yeah, that one.
Yeah,
yes.
Bridget Willard.
Of course. Yep, of course. Yeah.
But I bring that up because it highlights GiveWP in use and its effectiveness of she was able to keep pretty much a majority of the funds. She didn't have to worry about anybody else taking their cut by using a service. And B, it shows the mutual support that the WordPress community shows others in a time of need for most people, the majority of the time for most people. And it's just a great story. So tell us a little bit about the nature of the business right now. Are things going well? I mean, I know we talked briefly a bit off the air, and you said you guys are hiring. Yeah,
we actually, when I started in 2014, I was basically the first full-time hire, and I'm a partner now. But in 2014, I was the first full-time hire. Bridget was our second full-time hire. We hired her in October of 2015, and since then, we hired Ben Meredith, who is my full-time support guy right underneath me, and Ravinder Kumar, who is in India, and he's a full-time developer for us. We also hired Rami, who is the founder, creator of GenerateWP. He's working part-time with us on development of Give, and we are in the process of hiring a new full-time junior developer right now. And that is just, to me, thinking just back to October 2014, it's just astounding. We definitely did not have the means to hire even me, truthfully, back then. But the fact that we're able to hire these folks with confidence and with everything that's going on, it's been really exciting.
So business is doing well. You guys are growing at a relatively quick pace. And I imagine between October of 2014 and now, You guys have experienced some bumps along the way of running a WordPress product business. Can you share any of the lessons you've learned so far in your journey to our listeners out there?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, when we talk about it, the thing that we're shocked by is honestly, and I really don't mean to like be like all rosy and whatever, but one thing we really are shocked by is the lack of really major faux pas or really major mess ups.
Well, hold on, I'm knocking on wood.
We feel really, really fortunate overall, because dumb things can happen to anybody. Like we're not immune at all. We know that, so we feel really fortunate. But a couple of things have stood up. For example, the biggest and most important add-on that we've released for Give since we launched is called recurring donations. It's the ability to accept recurring donations every single month or every week. For some gateways, even every day. And it's just really, really important to nonprofits and their functionality. But it's really, really complex. We joke about it as it's just a checkbox because from the user perspective, it is just a checkbox. But in terms of what actually happens when that checkbox is checked, it's really, really complex. What we did when we were getting ready to do it is we were really excited about it. We wanted other people to be excited about it. So we were like, hey, it's going to be published on this date. And we're excited. And you should be too. And then all of a sudden it wasn't ready on that date at all. And it's, in hindsight, it's one of those really, really obvious things that if you talk to Pippin or James Laws of Ninja Forms or any of the guys who really do a lot of big plugin development, they'll say, yeah, I mean, like rule number one is you don't give people dates because you just can't do it. Like it's just, especially when you're doing something really big and important, you can't give dates. It's one thing when you're trying to deliver a product, not a product, but like a deliverable for a client. That's one thing. But when you're doing something that's like, it's not done until it's done, and you don't know what obstacles you're going to come across or what new things you're going to hit, and you're going to uncharted territory, you just can't give dates. So that for us was one of the biggest things.
Well, the Achilles heel for a lot of WordPress product businesses, especially small ones that are growing rapidly or go through a growth spurt, is the support. I mean, even for large established businesses, the support is just sometimes can be unbearing. So how have you managed to go through this growth spurt, grow rapidly, but still maintain a high level of support?
Well, that's my job, and I'm head of support. And what I have been doing from as soon as we started to recognize, okay, things are really taking off, we're going to need to start hiring. As soon as we started doing that, I basically switched everything about what I was doing into data collection mode. And I actually just did a big presentation on this at WordCamp LA on how to scale support. And like we don't have a huge team. So what I opened up the presentation with is, hey, I'd love to come back here in 2 or 3 years and be like, hey, my formula really worked, or, here's why my formula didn't work, or here's why it wasn't sufficient. But my method so far has been data collection, and it's basically I provide a weekly report. I call it just a support report of basically what our capacity is on basically the number of hours of priority support that we have available every week, and how much we actually provided to our customers, and compared to how many tickets are created compared to how many sales we had, the time on ticket to resolution, and all of those things together actually result into what I call our capacity. And as long as we're running, what I've said, and this is still basically anecdotal because we haven't done like massive hiring for support yet, which we might have to. Like WooCommerce, I know, had to do like massive support hiring a few years ago. We haven't had to do that yet, but what I've said is like when we're at 75% is when we have to start getting ready to hire, because as soon as we're at 75, I have to shift into hiring mode. I have to shift into training mode. That means I'm not in tickets as often. And that means that our other support guys go up from 75 to 90 or 95%. So, but the simple answer is to say I went into total data collection mode and data reporting and analysis mode.
So how do you guys balance the time and effort given between priority support, which people obviously are paying for, and supporting people on the WordPress plugin directory? Because we had on Mark Benzakein a while back, and they do something interesting with their with a new plugin they have, where they say that they're going to do support, or they set a time and place where they just come in. I mean, they keep an eye on the forums most of the week, and they chime in as necessary, but they always have like this set time on Friday where you can come in and they'll answer and respond to threads. Do you do something like that, or is it all week long? Or
yeah, I've talked with a lot of different folks about how they handle .org support, and everybody seems to have a different perspective in some way. Like I talk with Josh Pollock a lot from Caldera Forums, and he will avoid .org support as much as possible, basically. Like you probably couldn't pay him to actually do it. But he still does well. He still does really well. And I don't understand that at all. I don't get it. And I did talk with Mark as well, and Greg Franklin of Desktop Server as well, especially after your article and where they highlighted that they only provide .org support like for 2 hours on a Friday or something like that. And I think that's crazy too. And I told them that. But they make it happen. They make it work. I don't understand how that works for them at all. Like I don't get it. For me and our team, we see .org as a sales funnel, period. .org is a sales funnel. That's why we have a free plugin in the first place. And I'm not ashamed to say this in any way. I'm not trying to be like salesy and cheapy. Like of everybody in our team, I'm the one who's least interested in being markety and money driven and all that kind of stuff. But basically, nobody is going to buy any of our add-ons if they hate our support. And it's really, really clear that a lot of people are testing the quality of our product and the quality of our support based on how we do on .org. So even though we have a team of support folks, I always say basically I'm hiring folks to do priority support. I myself am always doing the free support. That's most important to me. And also when we have like pre-sale questions that come through our contact form, I'm going to answer all of those, because for our team and for my purposes, that is kind of the front line of where support happens, and it's kind of the most important support. So I'm always going to be the one who does that. I don't know if that will happen when we have like 15 support members or not. But I know that the priority and importance of that is never going to change.
And at least with the priority support, it's behind the scenes, but the free support is like you guys and your company on stage for the public to see.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, there's where prospecting customers can get public perception of you.
Yeah, and the priority support definitely goes public as well. I mean, we have right now 120 5-star reviews on our plugin page, and that's largely because of our priority support.
Okay.
So there, I mean, it definitely bleeds over. And there's 1-star reviews, which I just detest, and they're not. I wouldn't say they're a result of priority support, but sometimes they start there, and people. There's. I mean, I'm not going to go into it. It happens, and there's a reason for everything. And
the doldrums of 1-star reviews.
Exactly. I mean, it happens, and I actually like my support. We use Help Scout, and Help Scout has a little rating system. And when they get not good ratings, sometimes in Slack they'll be like, "I can't believe this guy gave a not good rating." I was like, water off a duck's back. Like it happens.
Well, look, GiveWP sounds and looks like an amazing plugin, especially to anyone out there who wants to handle donations and not worry about paying the middleman and just have to worry about paying your payment processor. You keep more of the funds and they go towards whatever goal you've got set up. So if people want to discover it, just look for GiveWP. You could search for it on the WordPress plugin directory. It's a free plugin, or you could search for it from the back end of WordPress. How nice is that? 1 click pretty much, or I think it's 2 clicks to be able to install and activate the plugin. And you can also find information about it at givewp.com. Sounds like business is going well. I'm happy for you guys. You guys are growing, and It's nice to see you hiring people internationally. So the remote worker thing is the real deal. And other than that, Marcus, any final questions here before we let Matt go?
Well, I think it's a great testament to a good idea in a plugin that serves the end result that an end user would want. It's easy for a developer to implement. It gives them, obviously, a donation page right away. So it's easy to use, gets results, and ultimately provides benefit to everybody down the chain. So, Matt, I applaud you. It's a great idea, and I hope you guys keep going with it.
Thanks. Yeah, we plan to.
Yeah, sometimes you can tell someone, yeah, there's this. I know this entire WordPress business has built around a donation plugin. I can understand people scratching their head, like, what business opportunity is there for a donation plugin? Well, there's plenty of opportunities there with the add-ons and the core functionality and the support, and obviously you guys have a great product, and all the best to you, and hope you guys continue to improve it. We'll have to have you back on here, I don't know, within a year or so, maybe less. And you'll have to give us one of those data reports about your company, or maybe do one of those things that's trendy now, transparency reports.
Yeah, we can talk about it for sure.
Yeah, give us those numbers.
I have numbers we can share for sure. We actually have a couple articles on our site about some of our numbers for sure. I think we actually have one about like what it actually physically costs to launch Give and get it going and everything. And Jeff and I chatted offline beforehand a little bit about my skepticism about transparency reports in general. But it's not that we're being cagey about it. It's just that I think there's more constructive ways to talk about the success of your business.
Absolutely. And there's a couple other people that feel the same way. So it's not just you sharing that kind of criticism of those reports. Yeah. So anyways, thank you, Matt, for being on the show. How can people get in touch with you and stalk you on the social medias?
Yeah, great place to find me is on Twitter. I'm Learn with Matt C. And on Facebook, I'm a word nobody can ever figure out. It's Mathetos, Mathetos. And then, of course, anywhere that you find Give or WordPress, I'm really basically just a click away if you find us on wordpress.com or GiveWP.com. I'm also admin of the Advanced WordPress Facebook group.
Which just happens to have almost 23,000 members.
23,000 and counting. It's ridiculous. But I'm in there pretty active all the time. If you go in there and start throwing around cuss words, I'll definitely give you some attention.
It's always nice seeing a breaking story and 10 different people post it within the next 5 days. So, but hey, what can you do about that? The news spreads differently for people. So,
Yep.
Anyways, yeah. Speaking of the Advanced Managed WordPress group, you do a good job over there moderating that discussion. Where every now and then people get out of hand, but hey, it's not just you. As a team of moderators there, and they all do a really good job. And man, how about that giveaway you guys did?
Oh my gosh, like that was unbelievable. We did one last year. Or was it last year or 2014? I forget. We did one when we reached 10,000, and that went really well. But this year we reached 20,000 members, and Ahmad Awais is one of our admins. He's in Pakistan, and he took up the torch for doing that giveaway. And he opened it up to the whole group. He said, hey, we're going to do a giveaway. Who wants to contribute to it? And I wouldn't have done that because I was like, oh, man, that's a beast. If you open up to 22,000 members, like you're going to get a ton of stuff. And that's exactly what happened. And in the end, he got over $100,000 worth of premium WordPress stuff to give away in that giveaway. It was unbelievable. I couldn't even fathom it. And he worked really hard on it. He spent so much time on it. I can't even tell you.
One of the cool things about the giveaway is even Automatic got involved by offering, I think it was some sort of, it was one of the
Vault Press. I think they
Yeah,
did
Vault Press plans or something.
Vault Press and what is the video one?
Video Press.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like a plan you could get like 3 or 6 months free of or a year or something like that. That was just pretty cool.
And there was like, I think, over 33 different packages, and some of those, like the top prize was worth like almost $10,000 all by itself. It was unbelievable.
Well, that's what happens when you have an epic community that's generous. That's just a fine example of it. So other than that, any events or work camps that we can expect to find you at, or?
We're all planning to be at WordCamp US, and we're actually sponsoring the post. I don't know if this is kosher on WP Tavern, but we're sponsoring the Post Status Publish event that's happening on the Thursday before WordCamp US, and so all of us are going to be there, and we're really excited about WordCamp US this year in Philadelphia. So we're planning to see us there.
Well, I will meet you. I'll see you because I'll be there, and maybe we'll share a cheesesteak or something.
Absolutely. We were going to do that last year. It didn't work out. What happened?
Yeah, well, there's some issues that came up, and I took care of those. And this year, I'm ready. I'm gearing up, man. I'm ready to go. I'll be there early.
Nice.
All right, Matt. So thanks a lot for being on the show. All the best to you, and keep kicking ass with GiveWP, man. Keep making donations easy for the WordPress user out there.
Thanks so much, guys.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Not a problem. So that's Matt Cromwell, everybody, of WordPress, admin on the Managed WP Facebook page, Advanced WordPress.
Excuse me. Yes.
Managed WP. Why did I got? What the hell am I saying that for? Advanced WordPress Facebook group. That's what I meant to say. I got Managed WP on the brain from a couple of episodes ago. I don't know. Who knows? Now, speaking of events and WordCamps, those of you, in fact, starting today, it was supposed to start today, October 5th, for the next couple of days. LoopConf was supposed to take place down in Southeast Florida. And LoopConf is the conference devoted to developers, WordPress developers, where you could really go down there and everything is high-level technical stuff that they were talking about. But the organizers have postponed the event due to Hurricane Matthew. That's right now projected to graze or impact, actually maybe even make landfall on the east coast of Florida, right near where the venue is. And we're talking about a Category 3 to 4 hurricane, possibly. So that's one you don't want to mess around with. So they're in the process now of, I know Ryan Sullivan, the lead organizer for the event. He's also the founder of WP Site Care. He's working really hard right now to try and make sure all the attendees and speakers that were there early are moved to home. Safety. Yeah, pretty much going home or moved to safety.
Wow, it's a hurricane named after Matt Mullenweg too. That's so nice.
Well, I wasn't gonna go there, but you just did, so I'm not gonna. Yeah, I'm just gonna leave it there. I mean,
okay. If the hurricane swirls into a WordPress logo, we know.
Yeah, that would be one hell of a sign. So, also. In that same vein, WordCamp Orlando was supposed to take place this weekend, and that too has been canceled. So if you have a flight there or have a hotel reservation, you better cancel it, and you better not go down to Orlando this weekend because there will be no WordCamp. There will only be hurricane, and you probably don't want to go down there during a hurricane, at least that one of that strength. You don't want to mess around there. So, I mean, the one thing to take away from this is safety is the number one priority. So kudos to the organizers of these events for, I mean, obviously it's a very tough decision to cancel the event, but when you take people's safety into account, it probably makes it a lot easier to do. And we don't want people unnecessarily hurt or injured just because they want to attend a conference. It's best to play it safe when it comes to this because this is a life-threatening hurricane.
No doubt. Absolutely. So Godspeed to everybody there, and hope everybody's safe that lives in the area that obviously, a majority of the attendees would. So I hope that they're okay.
Yeah. So by the way, I do want to say that if you purchased a ticket to WordCamp, to attend WordCamp Orlando, you can visit the WordCamp Orlando website, which we'll have linked up to in the show notes, and you can fill out, there's a Google form that you could fill out to, it's pretty much a refund request form. So you put your name and information in that form. Those requests will be submitted to WordCamp Central. They'll review them. And then if you purchased a ticket more than 60 days ago, WordCamp Central will be in touch with you to work out a refund arrangement. Or if you just want to be able to have your ticket purchased for the next WordCamp Orlando event, that way you won't have to purchase a ticket again. You can carry over the cost of your ticket from this event to the next one. So there's also that option. So a couple of different ways to go about.
I would do that, man. Let it ride. Just let that ride.
Let it ride.
Because then you don't have to worry about it selling out the next time. You've already got your ticket.
That's right. So I did. All right, I want to get into 2 real quick news stories, and then I want to bring back Matt on because I totally forgot that he had some plugin picks to do with us.
Oh, he does?
Yes. So let me hurry up here.
Plugin off.
Okay, I'm not going to say that again. Some great news out there. Our buddy, Corey Miller, friend of the show.
Yeah.
He's part of this, officially, he's part of a 501(c) nonprofit organization called The Div. Which was founded by Jay Chapman, Corey Miller, and Scott Day in Oklahoma. And they have been selected by code.org to be a learning partner. So what this means is the organization will help expand access to computer science education across the state by being the designated provider of code.org educational programs. So they're helping to expand computer sciences across the state, and instructors. They're helping instructors get the curriculum required to teach students from high school and AP level, 7th to 9th grade. And also there's the computer science fundamentals course that instructors can have to introduce at the elementary school level. So I just wanted to bring that story up because although it's not strictly tied to WordPress, it's an indication of how some of the people really involved with WordPress and entrepreneurs are doing things outside of WordPress that are having a big impact on the world, and even sometimes in this case his local community estate where Corey Miller lives, and that is Oklahoma. So congrats to him, and kudos to trying to extend computer sciences to more students out there in the state.
Absolutely. That's great. Congratulations, Corey, and everybody involved.
So one thing that came out that was published about a week or 2 ago was this big time review of Page Builders by Pippin Williamson, who shook up the page builder market a little bit with his review. So he reviewed 13 of some of the most popular WordPress page builders out there. And this really kind of all started with a tweet that Pippin published where he says, quote, "I'm sorry if this hurts anyone's feelings, but seriously, all of the majorly popular page builders for WordPress are terrible," end quote. Now, as you can imagine, this tweet actually received 55 retweets and 177 likes. So I can imagine there's a lot of people that feel his pain. But he actually took it upon himself to really see, I guess, to validate his opinion of things being so terrible. So he did an in-depth review of 13 page builders, and these include Elementor, Divi, Bricks Builder, and a couple of other ones. And he reviewed them from the perspective of a developer. So he was able to discover the lock-in capabilities that a lot of these plugin or page builders deal with, and provided a lot of feedback from a developer perspective. And one of the things I wanted to know, I'm not going to spoil the article for you and tell you which ones he likes or that are his favorite out of the review, but it was very encouraging to see developers of the page builders that were mentioned in the review were quick to respond to Pippin's feedback, and most of them are already implementing the changes that he has suggested. So also, his post had no affiliate links, so that was awesome. So there was no financial incentive to do the links or to do that type of review post. And it's been highly received in the community. And Marcus, I think this is a great example of how a highly respectable person like Pippin, who has earned this respect in the WordPress community and is a great business person with products like EDD and the way he runs his business, he wrote this long review, and he's in vote positive change within the community. And now all these page builders are probably going to be better because of it, because they're going to implement his suggestions, and users and developers are going to benefit from it. So just really just an epic post, and it's going to take you forever and ages to read, but it's definitely good reading. And so far the post has about 142 comments. It's a really good take on the state of the page builder market today.
If we had some sort of a literature prize, I think Pippin would be nominated this year for whatever
like
that
a
is.
WordPress something, or
There should be that. There should be that going on at WordCamp US, like best WordPress podcast, best WordPress blog, best individual post, best best video, YouTuber with WordPress.
definitely anyone doing a year in review post, you got to add this post to it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would win best supporting host, hands down, in WordPress every year. I'm like Meryl Streep or one of those people. Perennial favorite.
Yeah, so that's going to do it for the quick news updates this week. I know Matt's hanging on. Matt, we're going to let you do your plugin picks of the week. I totally spaced that, so I'm glad you hung on to do that, to share a couple of plugins with us. And then, Marcus, we'll get into your very likable plugin picks of the week segment. So, Matt, go ahead. What do you got for us?
Oh, cool. No, I just like listening to you guys talk. No, I was just hanging in. No, I got two picks.
All right. What do you got?
One of them is from our buddy Scott Bollinger, who's up in LA, Orange County. He created this free plugin right now called EDD Metrics. It's basically a great way to show your business data, your sales data, based on if you're using easy digital downloads for sales like we are on both WordPress and GiveWP, where he basically has this dashboard that shows really great information about lifetime value of customers and best performing plugins, and all in a really, really nice visually appealing overview of in one dashboard. Basically, it's something that I feel like overall is really missing in the WordPress space in terms of like business intelligence, sales intelligence, things like that. And Scott and I have chatted about it a couple times. I'm sure he talks with lots of people about it because it's something he's been talking about for a while. And he just basically took something similar to Bear Metrics and incorporated it straight into WordPress and released it as a free plugin, which I think is amazing. So
I don't know if he did the one for WooCommerce. I mean, I've seen a lot of good feedback from the people I follow on Twitter for his EDD Metrics plugin, and I've also seen this other plugin that does something similar for WooCommerce that's also received a lot of good feedback. So I don't know if it's a coincidence that they arrived around the same time or what's going on, but obviously there's a need there, and both products, one for WooCommerce and one for EDD, are hitting the mark.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I think WooCommerce is amazing. It's absolutely amazing plugin. It's definitely taking WordPress into places it's never been before, and I totally love it and support it. I'm just partial to EDD just because it focuses on folks like us who are plugin developers making a living off of building premium stuff for WordPress. Whereas WooCommerce is very much more like product driven, physical product driven. So I feel like when you release something that's about business intelligence that helps WordPress businesses do better, I'm just like, man, you're my best friend. Scott's always been he's a really great guy, but he just like went up 3 notches in my book. My other plugin I wanted to share is an oldie but a goodie, but it's called Postman SMTP Mailer. I don't know if you guys know this plugin, but like for me personally, I feel like often WordPress, it's not WordPress's fault, but WordPress by default uses PHP mail because that's what's available to it out of the box. But servers don't often do PHP mail very reliably, and sometimes Gmail and whatnot they don't trust PHP mail as well as they do other stuff. So Postman helps you basically troubleshoot and tweak and configure the way WordPress handles email in your site, and it does it in a really, really intuitive and easy way for any user, basically. So I put those links in our chat box here, but I did a big write-up on troubleshooting emails in WordPress in general on our Give site, and I referenced that as a really helpful and useful solution for really making sure that your emails are being delivered reliably. So those are my picks.
All right. Well, I'll keep continuing here with some more plugins. We'll keep the train rolling. All of mine have to do with WooCommerce. I had a monstrous WooCommerce project going on last week. The first one is called Minimum Order Amount for WooCommerce, and it allows you to easily set a minimum amount of orders that you can place, so a dollar amount or whatever it happens to be, quantity amount, any of that stuff. And then it also lets you alter the notification page, which says, hey, you haven't ordered enough. You need to put more in your cart and buy more things. So check that out. It's called Minimum Order Amount for WooCommerce. Another one, if you happen to have things that are kind of frequently out of stock, which is never a good thing, this plugin may help you. It's called WooCommerce Wait List, and it lets you track the demand for your out-of-stock items, and it also lets people sign up so that when the thing comes back in stock, it emails them automatically. Really cool plugin called WooCommerce Wait List. And finally, this is one that I ended up using for the project. It's called Woo Dynamic Quantity Table, and it works with the WooCommerce Dynamic Pricing add-on, and it takes it a step further. It actually creates a table that shows the breakdown of when you order, say, 1 to 5, the price is going to be this. If you order 6 through 10 quantity, then the price goes down to this level. So it does the entire table for you and puts it right on the product page. It's really nice. I had to do zero styling to it whatsoever. It looked great. It was called Woo Dynamic Quantity Table, and those are my plugin picks of the week.
Fantastic. Boy, a bonus feature out there for you. 5 plugins. How about that?
Wow.
So we covered a lot of great stuff here. And just a reminder, if you can afford tickets, Marcus, you will be speaking at the Affiliate Summit.
Yes, that's in Las Vegas, January 15th through 17th. My date is going to be the 15th, so that's the first day. I think I'm speaking at 4 o'clock, so that's right before the end of the day. And I'm looking forward to that. It's only going to be an 18-minute session, so it's not too much. Bob Dunn, has threatened to come, so I hope he gets to make it out there. Also, everybody, I want to let you know that the WordCamp Los Angeles videos are starting to get posted on WordPress.tv, and mine is one of them that's already up. So if you want to see my session that I presented there, go on over to WordPress.tv, and it's right there.
Awesome. So that's going to do it for this week's edition of WordPress Weekly. You can find show notes for this episode and all previous episodes on WPTavern.com. And you can follow me on Twitter at Jeffro, JEFFR0. Marcus?
MarcusCouch.com, membershipcoach.com, and on Twitter at MarcusCouch.
All right. So we don't have a guest schedule next week, but that could change. Or we might just talk about what's going on in the world of WordPress. We'll see. So until next week, have a safe, enjoyable rest of the week. Enjoy your weekend. We'll talk to you again soon. Bye-bye.